Hello everyone and welcome to the Wet Prairie. This is Matt from Indefensive Plants and today we're at an undisclosed location looking for orchids. As I mentioned, it's a wet prairie. We've got a layer of bedrock very shallowly located underneath the soil, so there's a lot of standing water right here, and it's added to the fact that we've had almost 5 inches of rain in the last few days. It's going to be an interesting trip, but we're looking for the white lady slipper orchid. It's very exciting because this is a conservation success story. Lots of active management had led to an increase in the population of this plant at this specific location, which we're not going to reveal because poachers could quickly undo the work that all of these people have put into making this plant success. All right, everyone, let's go see what we can find. Hey, check it out. This is a good sign. Very often when you're looking for rare plants, it's sometimes easier to find plants that associate with them quite frequently, and this is one of them. This is the tobacco root, Valeriana edulis, and it enjoys kind of wet, calcareous soils, very similar to the white lady slipper. The very fact that we're seeing this plant here in quite a bit of numbers is a really good sign. So I'm really hopeful that we're gonna see the plant we came to see. Awesome little plant, really good for pollinators, and it's related to the more commercially available valerians. But this one in and of itself is more likely to be encountered in the wild than it is in the garden. But otherwise, awesome find. With any luck, we might be finding some more of the lady slippers here pretty soon. Hey everyone, check it out. We found some aquatic plants. This is Prospera palustris, the mermaid weed. Now, flowering angiosperms have a specific set of challenges associated with living in the water. They didn't originate there. All of their ancestors had to come from land, kind of like whales. And being able to properly photosynthesize and reproduce in an aquatic environment is pretty challenging. For instance, you have to be able to uptake CO2 and get enough sunlight underwater, and then eventually come above the water surface to be able to reproduce and flower properly. So this plant is kind of dimorphic depending on what stages it's in. Underneath the water, it produces these filamentous sort of feathery leaves, and then as soon as it emerges from the surface and gets up into the air, it starts to produce more traditional entire leaves. It's really cool to see them in both sets of the stage, which they are right here, right now. The family to which this belongs is kind of global, and it's related to milfoil, but unlike milfoil, it's native. You've probably encountered this species if you're in the aquarium trade and you like planted tanks. But it's a really neat one to finally see in the wild. The flowers are kind of small, not terribly showy. But again, the overall structure of the plant is super attractive, and I'm really excited to see it here in all of its glory. So let's move on. Check out this little bastard. This is the bastard toadflax, Commandra umbellata. It's the only member of its genus, and believe it or not, it belongs to the mistletoe family. Like most of its cousins, it's a parasite, only partially. Although it has leaves and totally can photosynthesize, its roots produce these structures called haustoria, and those tap into the roots of a variety of plants that grow around it to gain at least some of its energy needs. It's a neat little plant, and you'll often find it in areas that were burned, thin woods, or kind of these open wet areas. And I often see it in relation to the white lady slipper. So again, I think we're in a good spot to be looking for this orchid. But this is a neat little plant nonetheless. It's got these beautiful cream colored flowers, and it's just a joy to find. Easily overlooked by a majority of people because it's not terribly showy, but I always enjoy it, so cool. Pardon my French, but hot damn, we found what we came for. This is the white lady slipper, Cypripedium candidum, and it's one of the smallest lady slipper orchids in North America, if not the smallest. I mean, look at the size of that bloom. It's a lady slipper orchid because of that pouch, and that pouch is key to the pollination strategy of this plant. It's a deceptive orchid. It doesn't offer any rewards to pollinators, but it tricks them because it's very colorful, and sometimes they emit a pretty strong odor. So any bees that are attracted to the bright coloration on the column here will fly in thinking they're going to get a meal, and instead they get trapped in this little pouch. And once inside, there's these guiding little stripes towards the back of the pouch that lead to these small translucent cells that act like windows. And that tells the bee that's visiting the plant that, hey, escape is near. And as it crawls out, the only way out of that pouch is through these tiny little tubes that lead to the pollen sacs, where it will either pick up or deposit pollen as it does. This is such an incredible find, especially in the amount that's here. And like I said, this is a conservation success story here in Illinois. For a long time, people were worried that successionary dynamics and just habitat disturbance and poaching together were going to eliminate the species, but active management at the right time of year by a lot of dedicated people have brought this species back from the brink of extinction. It's not common anywhere it grows, and to see it in this number is just breathtaking. So again, excuse my French, but hot damn, this is a great find, and I'm so excited that we get to share this with you. Remember, orchids are very sensitive plants. They produce millions of seeds, but they're tiny and dust-like, and it's very hard for them to find suitable conditions and the right fungi to partner with in order to germinate and grow. So, I beg of you, if you find orchids in the wild, leave them in the wild. Do not dig them up because A, they won't likely survive the transfer, and B, their populations take a long time to recover. And if you see orchids for sale, especially North American terrestrial orchids, ask where they're coming from. You don't want to support the trade for these plants because if we lose them from the wild, there's a good chance we won't be getting them back. So for now, I'm going to enjoy sites like this in the wild and hope that other generations in the future get to enjoy them as well. I'm just so excited. Well everyone, I think it goes without saying that today was a huge success. I can't believe how many lady slippers we saw. To see a population that healthy is so uplifting, and it gives me a lot of optimism for the future. As long as people continue to care and people continue to support land conservation, species like that can exist for many generations to come. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and keep tuning in for all the botanical adventures to come. Thanks everyone.